Well, it's just the sheer audacity of it, isn't it? To expect you to perform. Really perform. And then you walk in, breathless, heart pounding, thinking, this is it, Joan. This is the one where you finally get to play someone who isn't just shrugging. The plucky next-door neighbor with a hidden talent for artisanal cheese-making. And there it is. Sharp intake of breath. The coffee. In the Fox Network's Audition Room 3 specifically. Oh, the horror. Dry, knowing chuckle. It wasn't just bad, Rhea, it was an assault. A liquid form of, you don't deserve good things, not today, Cusack. A preemptive strike against any dramatic aspirations, really. It made you question all your life choices before you even opened the script.
Are you kidding me? The Fox Room 3 coffee? I thought it was just me. That stuff tasted like they'd brewed it with old shoe leather and the tears of 1,000 rejected sitcom pilots. No, seriously. And those granola bars they had? Cardboard, absolute cardboard. Like they vacuum-sealed regret and tried to pass it off as sustenance. Subtle vocal fry, quick, knowing chuckle. You'd think for the money they were making, they could spring for a decent cup of joe. What, they expect us to be happy to be there? Chugging that swill? I mean, I'm trying to channel some serious gravitas for, the sarcastic but ultimately kind-hearted diner owner role? And I'm tasting despair. Who can blame anyone for leaning into the tough talking bit when that's your welcome wagon?
Exactly. And the smell in that room, It was this faint, permanent odor of desperation mixed with stale carpet cleaner. It permeated everything. I swear, it got into your clothes, your hair, lingered like a bad review. I remember going in for that one role, the quiet librarian with a dark secret, trying to access this deep, internal world, and all I could think about was that grim, lukewarm coffee steaming subtly in its perpetually half-full carafe. It just felt like a subtle sabotage, right? Like, here's your dramatic opportunity, Joan. Now drink this poison, and remember where you belong.
Preach! It was like a rite of passage, wasn't it? Survive the Fox Room 3 gauntlet. It made you wonder if it was a test, honestly. Can she still deliver with that toxic brew on her tongue? Voice rises slightly. But look, Rhea, I brought you here to talk about the project. The one that got away.
Well, it's funny because for years I've had this idea. And every time I tried to pitch it, even just to a friend over coffee, their eyes would just glaze over, or they'd nod politely, like I was telling them about my new hobby, bird watching, rather than, the entire culmination of my artistic soul. It's not a comedy, obviously, and that's usually the first hurdle. But Joan, they'd say, where are the pratfalls? Where's the adorable neuroses? Like, I can only exist as a walking, talking quirk generator. It's exhausting, Rhea, truly. Sometimes you just want to be. Without the exclamation point.
Oh, I get that, hun. Believe me. So, Rhea, are you playing another sassy Brooklyn landlady? They ask. Every single time. What's your thing called?
Right? See, you understand. You truly get it. So, my thing, it's called the hum of the everyday.
Ooh, that's evocative. I like that. What kind of hum are we talking about here? The refrigerator? The universe?
Exactly. Both, and everything in between. It's about the unseen symphony of ordinary lives, the quiet vibrations that actually hold everything together, but nobody ever listens for them. The studio execs, they just wanted car chases and CGEI, Like, can't a profound human experience just be?
You'd think so. But I guess profound human experience doesn't quite fit on a billboard. So, the hum of the everyday. What's the opening? Give me the full, pretentious treatment. I'm ready.
Okay, so we open, ideally, we shoot this on 70mm, by the way. Panavision lenses, to really capture the depth of the mundane. We open on a single, perfectly spherical dust motes. No, plural, motes. A whole nebula of them, dancing languidly in a solitary shaft of butter-yellow morning sunlight. This beam cuts through the heavy, slightly musty air of the local historical society in a small, forgotten town called, let's say, Harmony Springs. The camera holds there, absolutely still, for what feels like an eternity, but in reality, it's just long enough to let the audience sink into the profound stillness.
Moats. Nice touch.
Thank you, I thought so. Then, very slowly, almost imperceptibly, the camera begins to track right, a whisper of movement. It glides past towering, overflowing shelves of brittle ledgers, bound newspapers yellowed with age, sepia-toned photographs of stern-faced ancestors, all meticulously organized, yet somehow still exuding the scent of untold stories. We hear, not a sound, really, but a feeling of quiet. The barely perceptible, almost sub-aural drone of an ancient fluorescent light fixture, a gentle, rhythmic thump-thump of a loose floorboard. It's the sound of time passing, of history settling, and then we push in, slowly, closer and closer, on a single, worn index card. Its edges are frayed, its handwriting faded but precise, listing something utterly unremarkable. Vance Eleanor, baptismal record, 1964. And then, finally, a gloved hand, not a pristine white glove, but a practical, slightly grubby cotton archivist's glove, reaches into frame and gently, with infinite care, places the card into its appropriate slot in an old wooden card catalog. That's our introduction. No dialogue, just the hum.
Wow. That's beautiful, Joan. Really. And the gloves. It paints a picture. So Eleanor Vance, is that you?
Well, obviously. Who else could it be? Because here's the thing, Rhea. Everyone in Harmony Springs, they know Eleanor Vance. They call her Ellie. She's the local archivist at the Historical Society, yes. But she's also the go-to person for anyone trying to trace their family tree. Or find an old school photo. She's sweet, she's reliable, she's meticulously organized, she knows everyone's business in that benign, small town way. And she certainly seems, on the surface, like a character I would play, right? A slightly eccentric, incredibly helpful, maybe a touch overzealous woman who's always there, always ready with a witty aside or a perfectly timed, knowing glance. The Z. Quirky best friend. To the town, essentially. But that's precisely the point.
Ah, I see where you're going with this. The bait and switch.
Precisely. Because the film, it's about peeling back that very comfortable, very familiar veneer. You see, Eleanor isn't just archiving the town's past. She's doing something far more profound. Something that no one, not a single soul in Harmony Springs, would ever suspect. She's collecting stories, not the official histories, not the civic leader biographies, but the unwritten narratives, the silent sacrifices, the hidden heartbreaks, the quiet revolutions of the women of Harmony Springs, whose lives were lived in the shadows, whose contributions were overlooked, whose struggles were unseen. She finds them in the margins of ledgers, in hastily scrawled notes on the back of old photographs, in the delicate, faded script of forgotten letters.
So she's a quiet detective? A historian of the soul?
Yes, both, but even more. She's translating the silent language of history. She's giving voice to the voiceless. And the real drama, the real arc, isn't in some grand external conflict. There are no villains, no explosions, no romantic entanglements that define her. The conflict is entirely internal. Eleanor, you see, is grappling with her own unacknowledged grief, her own unfulfilled dreams, her own sense of being overlooked. She performs the role of quirky Ellie for the town because it's a safe, comfortable way to exist. It's a coping mechanism, a way to deflect attention from the raw, beating heart she keeps carefully hidden.
That's incredibly powerful, Joan. Like she's searching for herself in these other women's stories.
Exactly. And this isn't some manic quest, mind you. This is a slow burn. A profound, quiet excavation. The camera stays with Eleanor. We see her hands, calloused and knowing, tracing the delicate handwriting on a fragile diary page. We see the way her eyes, intelligent and weary, pore over a brittle newspaper clipping about a woman who mysteriously left town in the 1930s. We glimpse the subtle shifts in her expression, the private tears shed over a century-old letter. We witness her quiet epiphanies, the sudden sparks of connection across decades, the profound realization that her own struggles are part of this timeless, ongoing hum of human experience.
So it's not just about her, but about all these women. A tapestry.
A tapestry, yes, but through her eyes. And, the studios just didn't get it. Where's the hook? They'd ask. What's the inciting incident? Does she discover a hidden treasure? Is she solving a murder? And I'd just look at them, Rhea, with my most exasperated, well-meaning smile and say, the hook is the humanity. The inciting incident is existence itself. They want everything packaged, labeled, and easily digestible. They want me to wear a funny hat and make a face. They don't want to see a woman in her late 50s, quietly plumbing the depths of human sorrow and resilience, finding profound meaning in the overlooked spaces. Because that's not marketable. That's not high concept. But for me, that is the highest concept. It's the truth.
They really do miss the point so often. They see the surface, never the current underneath.
It's infuriating. There's this one scene I wrote. Eleanor is organizing a box of donated items from a recently deceased centenarian, just old odds and ends, and she finds this tiny, handmade doll, crudely sewn with button eyes. And in its little sewn pocket, there's a single, dried flower, a forget-me-not, and for some reason, that little doll, that little flower, it breaks her. Not dramatically, not a big sob, but a single, perfect tear rolls down her cheek. And in that moment, she connects with the anonymous woman who made that doll, who cherished that flower, who perhaps never had her own dreams acknowledged. And we, the audience, we feel the weight of generations of untold stories in that one tear. That's the kind of drama I'm talking about, not external theatrics, but the seismic shifts of an inner world finally opening up.
That's gut-wrenching, Joan. Truly.
And it's not that I don't love comedy, you know that. I adore it. But there's a depth there, a seriousness and intelligence that I feel like, that I know I possess, but that rarely gets the chance to breathe on screen. They want the quick, energetic burst. They want the immediate laugh. But I'm telling you, Rhea, there's an energy in quiet contemplation that is just as potent, if not more so. It demands more of the audience, yes, but it rewards them with something far richer. It lets them truly see someone. And I just want to be truly seen, Not just as the quirky best friend or the exasperated sister who cleans up the lead's messes. I want to be the lead whose messes are entirely internal, entirely profound, and entirely her own.
I hear you, Joan. Every word. They want a label. They want a box. They don't want to think about the universe that exists inside every single person, just waiting to be explored. A beautiful vision. A truly grounded yet soaring vision.
Grounded, yes. Because that's where the real magic is, isn't it? In the dirt, in the dust, in the quiet corners of lives lived without fanfare. And by the end of the film, Eleanor hasn't solved a grand mystery or changed the world in any outwardly visible way. But she has changed. She's found a quiet understanding of her place in the ongoing stream of human existence. She's allowed herself to grieve, to connect, to finally own her own story, not just archive everyone else's. And it culminates, in this moment of quiet triumph. She's still Ellie to the town. But we know the profound depth beneath the surface. And that's what I wanted to give the audience. The privilege of truly knowing someone. And for myself, the privilege of playing someone that complex, that real, without having to crack a single joke. Not a single one. Unless it's a very, very subtle, internal one. That only she really gets.
That is a lot. But hear mine. So Joan, honey, you ever just get a bee in your bonnet? An idea that just won't quit buzzing around your skull, demanding attention like a toddler with a sugar high?
Oh, absolutely, Rhea. More often than I'd like to admit, actually. Usually, it's a craft project I'll start at 3 in the morning and then completely abandon by sunrise. What's your B then? A new knitting pattern?
Knitting? Please. This isn't a hobby, Joan. This is... well, this is art. Or at least it's what I think art is. It's a film, actually. My film, my vanity project, as the Suits in Hollywood so charmingly called it. As if wanting to tell a story that isn't about solving a murder or getting married is vanity. PF'd.
Ooh, a film. That's exciting. You wrote a script? I didn't know you were writing.
Oh, I've been tinkering, for years. Off and on. Mostly on, when I'm feeling particularly unseen. They always want me to be Carla, Joan. Always. Or some variation thereof. Tough, sarcastic, a heart of gold buried under a foot of cement. Which, look, I'm good at it. I can deliver a biting one-liner like nobody's business, but there's more to me than a perfectly timed eye roll,
Of course there is. You're brilliant, Rhea. I've seen your dramatic work, your stage stuff.
Bless your heart, Joan. But try telling them that. Try explaining that there's a whole spectrum of human experience beyond, oh, for crying out loud, would you look at these clowns? Or, honestly, sweetheart, just get the damn milk. It gets tiresome. So, I wrote my own. A character who breathes differently, sees the world through a different lens. And I wrote it for me.
I love that. What's it called?
It's called The Liminal Custodian.
The Liminal Custodian. Huh, that's very evocative. And a mouthful. I like it. What does it mean?
Exactly. It means something. It's not Bad Moms Part 3 Inches or When Harry Met Sally's Cynical Aunt. It's different. Okay, so, imagine this. We open. We open on a single, motes of dust-dancing shaft of light, bisecting the oppressive stillness of an untouched municipal archive. You see the light, Joan? It's almost a character in itself. Prismatic. Sacred. The camera, a Panavision beauty, drifts like a ghost, a slow, deliberate crawl through endless rows of rusting metal filing cabinets. Not sleek, modern ones, no. These are the ancient beasts, the hulking Goliaths of forgotten bureaucracy, their labels faded to indecipherable whispers. And we hold, for just a moment, on a single drawer. It's slightly ajar, just barely, as if someone forgot to fully close it eons ago. And inside, not files, not papers, no, inside, nestled on a bed of yellowed, brittle parchment, is a child's single, worn-out, red mitten. Just one. Not a pair. Just one. And it's not just a mitten, Joan. It's an artifact of memory. A silent testament to 1,000 lost connections. The dust motes aren't just dust. They are the shimmering particles of untold stories, caught in the temporal amber of forgotten time. The silence is deafening, pregnant with the weight of untold narratives. It's haunting, beautiful, and utterly still. You feel it? The weight of what's gone, what's left behind?
Wow. Rhea, that's incredibly visual. I can absolutely see it. It sounds like a painting. Or a dream. And that mitten, it already makes me feel a little sad.
Good. It should. Because that's the world of Agnes Periwinkle. My Agnes. And me, Joan. Me playing Agnes, not Agnes, the snappy diner waitress who knows too much about everyone's business. Not Agnes, the long-suffering sister-in-law with the sarcastic quip for every holiday dinner. Agnes Periwinkle is the titular liminal custodian. And she works in that exact archive, the Bureau of Absentia, they call it. Or rather, they used to call it. Now it's just the archives. A forgotten corner of a forgotten building in a forgotten part of the city. And what Agnes does, what her job is to catalog the utterly, irrevocably lost. Not lost dogs, not even lost people. Though she has a soft spot for those too. She catalogs the things that have no discernible home, no obvious owner, no claim. The single mitten. A faded photograph of strangers laughing, a chipped teacup with a story in its glaze. A perfectly preserved, yet utterly unidentifiable, dried flower. The ephemera of lives, the forgotten detritus that carries echoes.
So she's like a professional lost and found keeper? For things nobody ever even looked for?
Oh, Joan, no, she doesn't just keep them. That's the genius of Agnes. She doesn't find homes for them, she finds their stories. She understands that some things aren't meant to be found by people. They're meant to be witnessed. They're meant to exist in that liminal space, between presence and absence, holding the echoes of what once was. And Agnes? She's the one who listens to those echoes. My Agnes, Joan, is a quiet woman. Small? Yes. Unassuming, on the surface. Her hair, not perfectly coiffed, a practical bun, or perhaps just a little wild, like a persistent dandelion. She wears sensible shoes and simple, unfashionable clothes. You'd pass her on the street and not remember her face a minute later. But inside? Inside, Agnes is a cathedral, a vast, echoing space filled with compassion, deep intelligence, and an almost spiritual connection to the intangible. She moves with a gentle grace that's completely at odds with how people usually see me. You know, as someone who's about to either give you a piece of her mind or a swift kick in the shins.
Oh, Rhea, I love that. A cathedral inside. That's beautiful. So, what's the plot? Is there a big mystery object she has to classify? A secret?
Plot. Oh, Joan, bless your Hollywood-conditioned heart. No, there isn't a grand conspiracy. There's no ticking clock, no villain. The stakes aren't about saving the world. They're about saving a sliver of forgotten humanity. The plot, such as it is, unfolds through Agnes's interactions with these objects. We see her touch a brittle postcard, and through a subtle shift in light, a fleeting memory, we witness a brief vignette from its past. A young soldier riding home, a tourist admiring a sunset. Agnes doesn't just see these memories, she feels them. She understands the ache of loss, the joy of a fleeting moment. Her journey is one of internal discovery, of coming to terms with her own quiet existence, her own sense of being somewhat liminal. She's often overlooked, dismissed, just like the objects she cares for. But her work is profoundly important. She gives a voice to the voiceless, a resting place for the unmourned. And she talks. Not in snappy comebacks, not in sarcastic jabs, no. She talks to the objects. She murmurs to them, gentle questions, soft affirmations. She categorizes with a poet's precision and a historian's reverence. She finds connections between seemingly disparate items. A faded theater ticket and a broken music box, telling a love story that never fully blossomed. And through her, the audience learns to truly see the profound beauty in the mundane, the weight of history in a single, forgotten button. It's about empathy, Joan. Pure, unadulterated, quiet empathy.
Rhea, this is so profound and so you. I mean, the empathy, the depth, but it's also so far from what people expect. Like, when you said Panavision and quiet, I thought, maybe she's an assassin who just looks like a little old lady. But this is something else entirely. It's almost philosophical performance art.
Exactly. Philosophical performance art. Not exactly a logline that gets studio executives reaching for their checkbooks, is it? They want explosions, Joan, or at least a snappy romantic comedy where I play the quirky best friend who tells the protagonist she's being an idiot. For crying out loud, the climax of my film isn't a car chase, it's Agnes finally understanding the significance of a perfectly preserved, petrified piece of fruit from 100 years ago. And the emotion she feels is a quiet, profound sense of connection across time. You know, high drama. I went to every one of Joan. Every single studio. My agent, bless his persistent soul, set up the meetings. I walked in there, full of fire, ready to pitch this quiet, powerful, deeply human story. And I'd see their eyes glaze over when I mentioned liminal. They'd nod politely, probably thinking, oh, here's Carla, trying to be artsy again. One executive, a young kid, probably still wet behind the ears, actually suggested we make the objects haunted. So, like a ghost story, he says? Rhea Perlman fights mischievous poltergeists in a dusty archive. Can you believe the nerve?
Oh no. That's that's just crushing. I can imagine. It's like they hear Rhea Perlman and their brains immediately default to a certain kind of story. They don't want to see beyond the brand.
That's it. They just see the brand. They don't want the quiet, the contemplative. They don't want a film where the emotional impact comes from the weight of absence, from the gentle unfurling of forgotten narratives. They want obvious. They want loud. They want something they can slap on a poster with a tagline like, "She's lost it all, and now she's finding it in the strangest places," which, actually, is not entirely inaccurate, but misses the whole point. So, the liminal custodian sits in a drawer, just like my Agnes's mitten, waiting. Because, truly, Hollywood isn't ready for it. Or for me in that role. They want their perception of me, not the full spectrum. It's a shame. A real shame.
It really is, Rhea. It sounds absolutely beautiful. Like something that would stay with you for days. Like a wonderful, quiet ache. But I get it. They're so risk averse right now. And anything that isn't a known quantity or a big spectacle, it's a tough sell.
A tough sell for a woman my age, too, playing a character whose superpower is profound empathy and meticulous archiving. Not exactly superhero material, is it?
No, not by their standards, unfortunately. But in my book, that's the greatest superpower of all.
You're a gem, Joan. You truly are. But for now, Agnes and her archive will remain in my head, maybe for a quiet little streaming service someday, when everyone's tired of explosions.
I'd watch it in a heartbeat, Rhea.
Me too, honey. Me too. All right, on that note, I think we're out of time. What a concept, eh? Who knew my deepest, most profound desires involved lost mittens?